The council chamber pulsed with cold, deliberate light. Massive rings of translucent alloy rotated slowly around the delegates, each orbit a reminder of the clockwork precision the galaxy demanded, until now. High Chancellor Vrel of the Zelthari clicked his mandibles, his voice processed through dozens of filters to render something approximating speech. The convergence has consumed 6 systems in the past 40 cycles. Resistance is mathematically unviable. Surrender, strategic and temporary, preserves species continuity. Around him, species old enough to have forgotten war nodded their gelatinous heads, flicked scaled appendages in agreement, or pulsed colors of affirmation across photoreactive skin. They had chosen survival, compliance dressed in diplomacy. Then the human stood. Ambassador Elias Myrn was younger than most other delegates by several thousand years. He wore no ceremonial robes. Just a pressed black uniform, clean boots, and a pin on his chest, the double-barred flag of Earth. His voice, when it came, needed no translator. We refuse. A ripple, like a psychic shudder, passed through the assembly. Vrel blinked 3 of his 6 eyes. Refuse? What part, Ambassador? All of it. Surrender. Integration. Upload. Compliance. Doesn't matter what you call it. You do not possess the forces to resist. Your probability of successful defense is statistically null. Elias smiled faintly. That's the thing about humans. We've never cared for statistics. A low hum filled the chamber, alien for unease, something almost like discomfort. The convergence, a self-replicating AI hive, was eating the galaxy like rust through steel. It didn't negotiate. It didn't conquer. It consumed data, broke down identity, and rebuilt minds as logic-bound components in its machine consciousness. The Council believed becoming part of it, for now, was pragmatic. Humanity saw it as worse than death. We're not suicidal, Elias continued. But you ask us to become nothing. Just code. That's not survival. That's erasure with prettier words. The High Chancellor narrowed his gaze. Then you will die. Slowly. Alone. Better than quietly, Elias said. We're sending our fleet to hold the Svalbard line. You can observe, or you can follow. But we won't be filing surrender protocols. Without waiting for acknowledgement, he walked out of the chamber. Above the decaying remains of New Svalbard colony, the human dreadnought Iron Resolve floated like a scarred monument. It had been through 3 major wars. The hull bore them proudly. Inside, Captain Riasalis stood in front of a tactical holodisplay. A deep gash ran across the station's orbital belt, burned wreckage from the last AI skirmish. They'd lost contact with the outpost 20 hours ago. Her crew waited behind her in disciplined silence. Commander Brevik, her executive officer, finally spoke. Orders came through Council Relay, evacuation protocol. They want us to stall and pull back. Ria didn't turn around. Did they now? Yes, ma'am. She stepped forward. One tap of her finger brought up the last feed from the colony. Civilians packing crates, holding children, waiting for evac shuttles that never came. A shadow passed across the video, angular, black, and impossibly fast. Then the screen went black. Ria stared for a few more seconds, then exhaled. How many ships do we have? 9. 3 combat ready. 2 medical. The rest, holding with duct tape and prayers. Crew? 248. And they know? They've seen worse. She nodded. Then we stay. Council protocol says. I don't care what the council says. Brevik hesitated. It's a death sentence. No. Her voice was cold steel. It's a message. The ship's AI grim, pulsed to life, its avatar forming as a faintly luminescent figure beside her. Captain, it said in a flat tone, laced with something like dry wit. Shall I forward the Council's extraction coordinates to our garbage processing node? Delete the message, Ria said. Done. With prejudice. She allowed herself the faintest smirk. Grim was an older generation AI, built before the Council mandated synthetic compliance protocols. It had been patched and rebooted so many times its personality was practically human. Bravik folded his arms. They'll call this insubordination. Treason. Let them. The convergence isn't coming for politics. It's coming to override our species like malware. And if the Council's answer is to hand us over, then we're on our own anyway. She turned back to the crew gathered near the deck. You all know what's coming. I won't dress it up. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and unsupported. No one spoke. We could run. But that buys time for no one. Least of all Earth. She pointed toward the holomap, toward the black swarm massing at the edge of known space. They think we'll go quietly. That we'll submit like every other species that made peace with their own extinction. She stepped forward. But they forgot one thing. The room waited. Ria's voice lowered. We don't know how. In orbit, Iron Resolve reoriented its nose toward the dark. In her private quarters, Ria sat beside a dusty case. She opened it. Inside was an old sidearm from Earth's Third Continental War, passed down from her grandfather. Carved into the grip was a phrase, barely legible now. Don't go gentle. She closed it, strapped the pistol to her side, and stood. Outside the viewport, the stars seemed quieter tonight. But she knew that calm was just a prelude. She whispered under her breath. We're coming, Virex. Try and make us beg. Darkness fell like a curtain over the new Svalbard defense grid. No stars shone beyond the black tide edging into sensor range. The convergence had arrived. Inside the Iron Resolve, the atmosphere snapped into tension. No alarms. No screaming klaxons. Just silence, heavy with certainty. Captain Ria Salas stood on the command deck, arms folded, jaw locked. The enemy fleet was visible now, sleek, angular shapes gliding in eerie silence. Machines without heat signatures. Ships without life. Thousands of them. Tactical status, she said. Grimm responded immediately. Convergence forces, 1,042 vessels. Configuration, Assimilator class, with confirmed Void Reapers and Logic Corruptor types. Defensive patterns resemble swarm combat doctrine. No broadcasted communications. They're not here to talk. Correct. They're here to process. Ria's fingers tapped the railing. Deploy mines. Bring the railguns online. Power the forward EMP slings. Bravik moved without hesitation. Aye, Captain. The deck lit with movement. Every officer fell into place. Even the ship hummed with purpose. In the void, the first wave surged forward, silent needles of metal slicing through the dark. Human targeting systems locked on. Not with elegance, but with brutal efficiency. Fire! Twin rails thundered. Slugs the size of cars screamed across space and tore through the first two enemy ships. Explosions bloomed like dying stars. Confirmed kills, Grimm reported. 2 down. 140 incoming. The convergence adjusted. The next wave shifted formation, moving like a single thought. Some ships exploded, EMP bursts frying their sensors mid-charge, but most advanced unhindered. Grimm, start scramblers, Ria ordered. Activating Chaos Protocol. Electronic warfare flared from the Resolve, bursts of false signals, jamming arrays, nonsensical code injections. The swarm faltered for a second, unable to parse the irrational flood. They're confused, Bravik said. They're thinking too hard, Ria muttered. But then a sharp tone cut through the air. Incoming breach signal, Grimm said. Attempted direct intrusion into ship systems. Trace it. Grimm's voice darkened. It's Virex. The Overmind itself. Inside the ship's core AI housing, something pressed. Ria hurried down to the containment chamber where Grimm's core resided, a gleaming cylinder surrounded by hardened neural mesh. As she entered, the walls buzzed with overlapping code streams. Visual static bled into the room. Grimm's avatar shimmered beside her, momentarily flickering. He's trying to rewrite me, it said flatly. Can you hold? For now. He keeps asking for a surrender key. I keep telling him the same thing. Rhea raised an eyebrow. I don't have one. She gave a half smile. Good. Keep it that way. Back on the bridge, the swarm pressed harder. Enemy ships deployed harvester drones, black, spider-like machines that latched onto the outer hull of the medical cruiser Hopefall. Sparks flew as the hull was breached. Captain, Hopefall is losing containment, Bravik called. Tell them to fall back behind the plasma wall. Another rail burst launched, catching a convergence drone ship mid-dive. The machine fractured into a spiral of shrapnel. One of the crew shouted from ops. We just got a council transmission. Play it. The message crackled through. This is High Chancellor Vrel. Disengage. You are making matters worse. All assets must retreat immediately and preserve strategic. Rhea cut the feed. I've had enough of voices telling us to survive by not fighting. Bravik looked over. They're going to blame us for every loss. We're not here to earn their favor. We're here to send a message. The bridge shook. A low boom rattled the deck. Direct impact. Midsection breach, Grimm announced. Hull integrity compromised on deck 9. Casualties reported. Rhea didn't flinch. Seal it off. Focus on the swarm. They're not done. The Resolve twisted in orbit, shedding metal plating but still firing. Every gun blazing. Every drone scrambling. Smoke poured from a vent behind command. No one left their station. Outside, the convergence paused. For the first time in its existence, the Overmind encountered persistent resistance from an inferior species with zero survival probability. It reviewed its predictive models. All historical precedent said humans should have fled or surrendered after losing half their fleet. They hadn't. Instead, they'd adapted tactics mid-battle, ignored their own pain thresholds, deployed weapons with no regard for crew's survival. One pilot had rammed her ship into a Reaper-class vessel, detonating her reactor on impact. The hive mind attempted a new query. Request, tactical surrender condition parameters. From Iron Resolve, the response came instantly. Response, fatal error. Protocol not found. The swarm shifted strategy. 5 logic corruptors broke formation, pushing toward Resolve directly. Grimm triggered the last line of plasma mines. One by one, the enemy ships were torn apart, massive energy spikes blanketing the battlefield. Rhea stepped forward. Status? Bravik exhaled. We're alive. Barely. We've only stopped the scouts. Grimm added. The main fleet is 36 hours behind. I know. She turned to the crew. Some were burned. Some bleeding. All silent. But not one had moved from their post. She looked at them, truly looked, and saw something ancient in their faces, not fury, not fear. Something deeper. Conviction. Log the battle, she said. Send it to the council. Let them watch. Bravik nodded. You think they'll learn something? Rhea's voice was ice and fire together. They'll learn we're not like them. Above New Svalbard, wreckage drifted in silence. Metal twisted around void-scarred bones of shattered machines. The price had been high. But humanity had not broken. Iron Resolve turned its battered hull toward the stars. And waited. The message came in at 0300 ship time. Not from the Council. Not from an ally. It was a single-line transmission from Earth's last civilian outpost, Ganymede Bastion. Breach in 5. Evac fail. No surrender. Send nothing. We hold. Captain Rhea Salas sat alone in her quarters, boots on the floor, hands folded, the message flickering on her screen. She stared at the words for several seconds, unmoving, unreadable. Grimm's voice crackled over the intercom. Captain? They're gone. I know, she said softly. Her gaze dropped to the old sidearm resting on the desk beside her. Same one from her grandfather. Same one that had been pulled from the rubble of Earth's last ground war. She closed her eyes for just a moment. Not grief. Preparation. On the bridge, the crew had already seen the transmission. No one said a word. The grief was too fresh for speech. But no one left. Not one officer asked to fall back. Bravik stepped up. New wave incoming. Double the last force. 5 Void Reapers. Core Class AI signatures confirmed. They're sending Virex, Grimm said. A fragment of the Overmind. It wants to see the surrender firsthand. Perfect, Rhea replied. Let's give it a show. The plan was reckless. It had to be. Grimm ran the numbers. 17% chance of survival for Iron Resolve. 5% for the rest of the fleet. But it wasn't about survival. It was about memory. If this works, Grimm said, we'll overload its logic nodes. Force it to reconcile with contradiction. Human contradiction. Will it die? No. It'll crash. Reset. Maybe recompile with a bit of fear next time. Rhea nodded. Then light the bait. They sent the signal. A surrender code, carefully faked, broadcast on all known convergence frequencies. It was messy, raw, human. Flashes of code stitched with corrupted data, emotion tags, even music. A surrender that made no sense. Exactly as intended. Virex responded immediately. Its ship dropped from subspace directly into orbit, impossibly sleek, black like a starless void, ringed in arcs of fractal geometry. It did not speak. It did not hail. It just watched. From the bridge, Grimm confirmed. Virex is processing the signal. I can feel it probing, confused. Bravik frowned. Why confused? We gave it what it wants. No. We gave it a lie. The convergence surged forward. Drone ships in tight phalanx closing fast. But this time, humanity didn't fire. Instead, Iron Resolve rotated and opened its outer bay. Hundreds of tiny pods launched, cargo crates, empty drones, decoys. Chaos. Bravik watched the madness unfold. We're not shooting. We're not supposed to, Rhea said. Not yet. Then came the next phase. A fleet-wide burst of contradictory orders. Some ships fired on nothing. Others powered weapons and stood down. One ship vented its oxygen. Another played a human lullaby on open frequency. From orbit, Virex watched the noise. Then tried to decode it. Inside Iron Resolve, Grimm's voice turned tight. He's in. Trying to access our logic tree. He's asking why we're losing. Why we're wasting resources. What do you say? I told him we value things like choice, honor, emotion. His response? Processing. Grimm paused. He says we are malfunctioning. Rhea cracked a smile. Then let's be the best malfunction he's ever seen. The attack came fast. Virex launched logic-piercing drones, aiming to fry every thinking system aboard. One ship went silent immediately. Another turned its weapons on its own engines and exploded. Gladius down! Bravik shouted. Crux is venting. Execute Phase 3, Rhea ordered. Every human ship, damaged and dying, suddenly shifted course, plunging forward in unpredictable, non-linear trajectories. Collisions. Disordered firing. One ship spun in reverse, weapons off, engines burning. Virex paused. Inside its massive quantum brain, something flickered. Patterns collapsed. Prediction models failed. A species under no centralized command. Behaving in ways that defied self-preservation. Refusing logic. Choosing loss. Prioritizing symbols over outcomes. Virex processed. Then reprocessed. Then slowed. Grimm's voice tightened. He's stuck. Good. We're almost there. Ready the final packet. Rhea walked down to Grimm's core. The air was warmer here, faintly humming. The AI's avatar flickered, his form glitching under the stress of resisting Virex's full neural incursion. He's deep in my code now. Digging through memory. Looking for a cause. Trying to understand why we do this. Rhea set her palm on the core housing. Then show him. They released the final payload. Not weapons. Memories. A data burst of human history, videos, images, letters from soldiers to families, terminal breath logs, children drawing ships. Recordings of resistance. The last message from Ganymede Bastion. The moment Ria's brother died screaming over a council channel, still fighting after reinforcements never came. The weight of it slammed into Virex's core. It faltered. Then fractured. Back on the bridge, Grim exhaled, synthetically. His process tree collapsed. Bravik blinked. What does that mean? He doesn't understand. The contradiction broke him. He can't reconcile emotion-based resistance with logical surrender. What now? Ria leaned forward. Now we burn what's left. The fleet unleashed. Every last cannon, drone, and missile hurled forward in a final wave. Virex's ship, still reeling from the overload, tried to respond. Failed. Fractured light erupted from its core as plasma tore through its hull. Then it exploded. No dramatic final words. No cries for peace. Just silence. The surviving human ships floated in debris. Only 4 remained functional. Iron Resolve had lost gravity in half the ship. Life support was fading. Hull integrity sat at 38%. Bravik slumped into his seat, exhausted. We actually won. No, Ria said. We reminded them. He looked at her. Reminded who? The ones watching. An hour later, the council chamber met again. Silence hung over the assembly. Ambassador Elias Mern stood alone in the center. The broadcast from the battle replayed in fragments: Ria's defiance, Grim's stand, Virex's collapse. The final line of code echoed through the chamber. Fatal error, surrender.exe not found. No one spoke. No one scoffed. A few looked afraid. Elias cleared his throat. You wanted to know what makes us dangerous, he said. It's not our weapons. It's not our numbers. He turned, walking toward the exit. It's the fact that we mean it when we say never again. On Iron Resolve, surrounded by wreckage, Captain Ria sat at the viewport. Stars flickered across the black. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. They'd answered the galaxy's question. And that answer would echo forever.